The young man in front of him unexpectedly obtained the shake system, which allows him to roll a dice once a day to reset his attributes. However, he has been shaking it continuously for 11 years, and each time his attributes turn out to be either waste material for 1,000 years or waste material for 10,000 years. Nowadays, he feels numb from shaking day after day. He swears that he must shake until he gets top-notch attributes before he begins to cultivate. On this day, as usual, he once again managed to get the Millennium Way spiritual root. He was so angry that he spat out 10 pounds of old blood. He sighed helplessly and began to shake his own innate fate and heavenly destiny. Just as the golden light flashed by, he actually shook out a top-quality innate fate and heavenly destiny with 4 attributes. He was totally amazed. Immediately, he fell to the ground and burst into crazy laughter. Next, he just needed to concentrate on rolling his spiritual root aptitude. Now with this outstanding fortune, what does it matter if he rolls his aptitude at 40 years old? He believed that in the not-so-distant future, he would surely have his own place in the immortal cultivation world. The young man is named Han Jue. His parents are servants of the Jade Pure sect, an outer Dan alchemist, and an old iron. They usually grow Dan pills for him, but they are just ordinary commoners. But when he was 6 years old, his parents unexpectedly abandoned Han Jue and fled. So Han Jue took over his parents' responsibilities. On that day, 2 cultivators from Jade Pure sect suddenly arrived at Herb Valley. It turned out that Old Iron went out on sect business, so the sect specifically sent these 2 to guard this place. And so, 2 more years passed just like that. Han Jue didn't even shake out a top-grade spiritual root. He couldn't help but sigh that his face is really too dark, fearing that he couldn't even shake out an excellent spiritual root no matter how hard he tried. Just at this moment, Old Iron returned and called everyone to gather. Old Iron first praised everyone. Everyone looked very touched. Han Jue, however, had a look of disbelief on his face. Old Iron suddenly called for Han Jue and 4 others to come over to him. He wanted to test their spiritual root aptitude. Han Jue was surprised to see this. Isn't he always strict about not allowing servants to cultivate? At this point, he noticed that Old Iron was injured again. He immediately guessed that there must be deception involved. But fortunately, Han Jue has never shaken any good spiritual root. At this time, another chubby kid was detected to have a spiritual root. Old Iron immediately expressed his intention to accept the other person as his disciple and bring them to cultivate outside the valley. Little Fatty was ecstatic. Everyone also cast envious glances at Little Fatty. Only Han Jue knows that this Little Fatty may never come back again. The world is too dangerous. One must quickly cultivate their spiritual root to be able to handle it. Just like that, 3 years have passed. One day, loud pig laughter suddenly came from inside Han Jue's house. Han Jue was excitedly rolling on the ground. It turned out that he had shaken out a top-level spiritual root containing 6 attributes. Excited, Han Jue was about to start cultivating with the help of the system. But then, he suddenly thought of that old bastard Old Iron. That Little Fatty had not appeared again since he took him out, probably dead. If Old Iron found out he was cultivating, it would be dangerous. At this time, the system suddenly popped up a prompt. Choose a small place for the system to help create a barrier. Cultivators outside the barrier will not be able to perceive the changes inside the barrier. Han Jue was delighted. This is like a little cow climbing a power pole, going full badass with lightning speed. Immediately, he decided to start cultivating. In the next moment, he appeared in the system space. Before him, various options emerged. At this moment, the system prompted him to obtain the peerless cultivation technique, 6 paths of reincarnation, and choose his primary cultivation path. Han Jue thought that the 6 paths of reincarnation must involve cultivating all 6 types of spiritual roots together. At that moment, he decided to choose sword cultivation as his main cultivation path. Soon after, all the surrounding spiritual chi poured into Han Jue's body. Han Jue suddenly felt his body filled with power. He then checked his attribute panel and found that there was an additional relationship panel. Upon opening it, he was shocked to discover that he had a hatred relationship with Old Iron. Han Jue couldn't help but grit his teeth in anger. Soon, Han Jue settled down and began to focus on cultivating with peace of mind. As soon as he entered a meditative state, Han Jue felt the spiritual chi of the surrounding environment. But there was no fire and thunder spiritual chi. At that moment, he decided not to think too much and chose to cultivate these 4 types of spiritual chi first. The system popped up a prompt box again, giving Han Jue 2 options. Han Jue felt that the system was really attentive, and without hesitation chose the second option. In the blink of an eye, another 2 years had passed. Han Jue's 4 types of spiritual chi have now all been cultivated to the chi refining 7th layer. Trouble has come knocking at the door. A stunningly beautiful woman suddenly asks you to go to a small grove with her and do something unspeakable. What would you do? Just as Han Jue was about to go back, inner sect disciple Xing Red Vortex approached Han Jue. She directly asked Han Jue to go with her to the small grove. Han Jue was puzzled as he didn't know her. Why did she suddenly ask him to go to the small grove? He then opened the relationship list and found out that Xing Red Vortex surprisingly had a 2-star favorable rating towards him. Han Jue instantly thought, could it be that she wants to practice dual cultivation with me? Should I comply? Or should I comply? Just as Han Jue was getting a little excited, Xing Red Vortex asked Han Jue to help him obtain the Old Iron Dan prescription as soon as he opened his mouth, and then she took him away from Jade Pure Sect to join the demon cult. She even enticed him by saying she could consider becoming Han Jue's Daoist partner. Han Jue instantly petrified on the spot. This woman turns out to be a demon cultivator. Han Jue immediately fell into despair. If he offends the Jade Pure Sect, he will be chased to the ends of the earth. But if he refuses, this female demon will definitely kill me to silence me. Although I am at the same chi refining stage 7 layer as her. But I have never learned any spells. At that moment, he decided he must not confront her head-on. Han Jue immediately indicated that he didn't know where the item was, and also mentioned that a fellow disciple was guarding the attic. He unexpectedly got pinned down by Xing Red Vortex. She told him that the things were in the attic. As for the other person, she would take care of leading them away. She immediately took out a large, round black pill, claiming that it could help him unlock his spiritual root. Without waiting for any reaction from Han Jue, she forcibly shoved the pill into his mouth. She then forcefully made him swallow it. Wait for Han Jue to return to the room. He immediately asked the system to help bring out that Dan pill. When Han Jue was considering whether to listen to Xing Red Vortex, he looked at the 2 options provided by the system. Han Jue chose the second one without hesitation. That night, Han Jue was entering a state of deep meditation inside the house. Xing Red Vortex suddenly appeared outside the window and informed him that the Dan prescription had been found in the study. She would distract the person later to give Han Jue enough time to act quickly. Han Jue quickly arrived at the attic and found that indeed everyone had been distracted. Han Jue pretended to enter the study room. He pretended to casually look around and then started to slack off. As he continued to curse Old Iron and that female demon in his heart, Xing Red Vortex suddenly appeared behind Han Jue, almost scaring the soul out of him. She saw that Han Jue was not looking for Dan prescription at all, so Xing Red Vortex was about to kill him. Han Jue was so scared that he bumped into the cabinet all of a sudden. As a result, a vase fell off the cabinet. The result was that both of them were in a daze. Then the Dan prescription appeared in front of both of them. Han Jue was completely stunned. Isn't this thing hidden too casually? Han Jue watched as Xing Red Vortex pounced over, thinking that this was an attempt to kill and silence him. To Han Jue's surprise, Xing Red Vortex excitedly embraced him. She mistakenly thought that Han Jue was being romantic with her. He was watching Xing Red Vortex with that excited look. Han Jue secretly thought he must not let her get hold of the Dan prescription, otherwise his secret technique would be exposed. Just as he was about to hit her with a brick, suddenly, an attack hit both of them. Han Jue was directly blasted out. Dan prescription also flew into someone's hand. The newcomer is Old Iron. It turns out Old Iron had long expected something fishy. He has been hiding in the shadows all along. He's just waiting for Xing Red Vortex to show up. She clearly isn't Old Iron's match. Xing Red Vortex ran off without hesitation. Han Jue, who had fallen to the ground, woke up and immediately said to Old Iron, "My lord, you have finally arrived. I almost lost my life trying to delay female demon. Aren't you alive?" Later, Old Iron asked Han Jue to explain the whole situation. After Han Jue told Old Iron everything, Old Iron did not trouble him any further. Han Jue saw that he had successfully misled his way through, so he hurriedly fled. At this time, the system also sent a prompt. The task is completed. Successfully obtained the Finger God Sword. 2 more years have passed. Han Jue has cultivated all 4 spiritual roots to the Qi refining stage 9 layer. The only one left is the Thunder Fire spiritual root, which needs to be cultivated to the 9 layer before he can break through to the foundation establishment stage. It is also time for him to leave this place. Immediately, he left the place where he had lived for 20 years, carrying his belongings in a bag, taking advantage of the dusk. He went directly to the entrance of the Jade Pure Sect. This time, he will officially join the Jade Pure Sect as a freelance cultivator. The man before us possesses the rare 6 spiritual root attributes. But he only displayed 3 of the spiritual roots. He was directly accepted as an inner disciple by the Jade Pure Sect. He was also gifted a set of luxurious equipment. Speaking of Han Jue, after leaving Herb Valley, he went directly to Jade Pure Sect, where he revealed his identity as a Qi refining 9-layer freelance cultivator and expressed his desire to join Jade Pure Sect. The gatekeeper was just about to report when he coincidentally ran into outer steward Yang Luo. He immediately asked Han Jue to use spiritual Qi. Han Jue casually used a move called Finger God Sword, which sliced off the top of a mountain. This move directly subdued 3 people. Yang Luo took Han Jue to register without saying a word. On the way, Han Jue asked if Jade Pure Sect has a place to cultivate Thunder Fire spiritual Qi. Upon hearing this, Yang Luo confirmed. "Could it be that this person has the Thunder spiritual root?" He immediately said, "Perhaps there might be an inner, but the qualification to enter the inner requires reaching the foundation establishment stage. However, if you have the Thunder spiritual root, you may be able to make an exception and be accepted into the inner." Upon hearing this, Han Jue immediately revealed his Thunder spiritual root. Yang Luo then took Han Jue to meet the elder. Then Han Jue casually showed 3 of his spiritual roots. In this way, Han Jue easily joined the inner sect. And he received a luxurious gift package as well. Several people asked him to rest well first and said that once the Grand Elder returned, he would take him to the inner. Han Jue sighed lightly. The moment he paid attention, he ended up becoming the focal point of care. But then, he discovered the presence of fire spiritual Qi here, so without saying a word, he immediately started to cultivate. Half a year later, when Grand Elder returned, Yang Luo informed Han Jue immediately. When he opened the door, Yang Luo was surprised to find that Han Jue had been cultivating for the past half year. When Han Jue opened his eyes, at this time, he had already cultivated his fire spiritual root to the Qi refining 4th layer. Later, he and Yang Luo went to see Grand Elder together. Directly addressing Han Jue, Grand Elder said, "There are a total of 18 peaks within the sect, which means there are 18 teaching elders. As long as someone appreciates you, you can become an inner disciple directly. Otherwise, you will have to participate in the sect's small competition early to strive for foundation establishment." Immediately, Grand Elder took Han Jue and flew towards the inner peak with a gourd. Along the way, Grand Elder introduced to Han Jue the different personalities and cultivation styles of each inner elder, and asked him what kind of immortal cultivation atmosphere he would like to join. Han Jue thought for a moment. He wanted to choose a low-key and hard cultivation style. Grand Elder immediately looked meaningfully at Han Jue, then chuckled. Jade Serenity Peak is very suitable for you. You will definitely like this place. As they entered the inner sect, he was shocked by the scenery in front of him. He had thought that Jade Pure Sect was just a small sect, but he didn't expect it to be so large. Grand Elder flew and introduced various places in the inner sect to Han Jue. When they arrived at Jade Serenity Peak, the entire mountain peak appeared desolate. Grand Elder explained that the teaching elder of Jade Serenity Peak was Dawnstar Fairy, whose cultivation level was profound and unfathomable. She also liked to cultivate in seclusion, which is why Jade Serenity Peak was not lively. Additionally, she did not allow her disciples to develop romantic feelings, so Jade Serenity Peak was mostly occupied by diligent cultivators. Han Jue's eyes lit up upon hearing this. This is simply his paradise. Grand Elder introduced Han Jue to Dawnstar Fairy in the main hall. Dawnstar Fairy asked if Han Jue was willing to focus wholeheartedly on cultivation without asking about worldly matters. Just as Han Jue was about to answer, he heard a voice saying, Jade Serenity Peak finally has a decent junior brother. Only to see a stunning girl walking towards him, Han Jue immediately checked his relationship list and found that Chan Lunar had a 2-star favorability rating towards him. However, Han Jue replied, as long as Dawnstar Fairy does not give any instructions, disciples can stay secluded for 100 years without leaving the house. Chan Lunar's favorability rating instantly dropped to 1 star. At this moment, Dawnstar Fairy asked Han Jue to launch an attack on himself. Han Jue immediately gathered all his strength to condense a sword chi, which shot towards Dawnstar Fairy like lightning. However, when the sword chi was about to hit Dawnstar Fairy, it dissipated into thin air. Han Jue wanted to find a low-key master to cultivate in peace. Little did he know that he had actually stepped into a woman's trap. The female disciple was like a fierce predator, and he was completely caught off guard in an instant. Speaking of Han Jue, after his sword chi dissipated in front of Dawnstar Fairy, she casually asked, is this the only move you know? Han Jue honestly admitted it. Dawnstar Fairy immediately expressed her intention for Han Jue to stay at Jade Serenity Peak. After giving Han Jue a meaningful smile, she then left. However, Han Jue found that Dawnstar Fairy was staring straight at him. Just as he was puzzled about the situation, Chan Lunar hurriedly reminded him that this was an invitation for him to take a master. Han Jue then realized it. He quickly knelt before Dawnstar Fairy and said, Disciple Han Jue pays respects to Master. Long live Master! Even Dawnstar Fairy was speechless at Han Jue's performance. Immediately, she instructed Chan Lunar to take Han Jue to register and arrange a cultivation dwelling for him. Chan Lunar immediately joyfully dragged Han Jue away. On the way, Chan Lunar generously told Han Jue to come find her if he has any problems in the future. Chan Lunar's direct gaze made Han Jue too afraid to look directly at her. He quickly said that he didn't dare to trouble Senior Sister. If Senior Sister needs anything, Junior Brother is ready to assist at any time. This sentence is meant to be said to Chan Lunar in a happy manner. She has endured 5 years on Jade Serenity Peak and finally encountered a good-looking junior brother with an attitude and personality that suits her taste. She can't let him slip away. Han Jue couldn't help but tremble in fear at Senior Sister's creepy expression. This Jade Serenity Peak is really not living up to its name. Why are all the female disciples like wolves and tigers? Chan Lunar quickly arranged Han Jue's cultivation dwelling. She specifically arranged for him to be next to her cultivation dwelling. After Senior Sister left, Han Jue really took a good look at this cultivation dwelling and couldn't help but once again marvel at the luxury of the inner decor. At this moment, he remembered that Shifu's stage in the relationship list was the Nascent Soul Stage 3 layer. She is currently the strongest cultivator she has ever come into contact with. He must hold on to such a valuable connection. Just as he was about to start cultivating, the system suddenly popped up and gave Han Jue 2 options. When he saw the first option, Han Jue was speechless for a moment, feeling that his Shifu seemed a bit strange. Unknowingly, another 3 years had passed, and Han Jue had cultivated all his spiritual roots to the 9th layer of Qi refining, except for his Thunder spiritual root. He immediately found his own master. He asked his master where he could cultivate Thunder spiritual Qi. Dawnstar Fairy looked at Han Jue in astonishment and asked, "Are you planning to cultivate the 3 spiritual powers for foundation establishment?" But Dawnstar Fairy immediately poured a bucket of cold water on Han Jue. Spiritual Qi alone is already extremely difficult for people to specialize in, not to mention that the heavenly tribulation that follows will be even stronger. The time wasted above cultivation is also a huge loss. Han Jue understands that the Dawnstar Fairy is doing this for her own good, but she has her own means. He immediately expressed that he would spend all his time on cultivation. Dawnstar Fairy's lips slightly curled upon seeing this. There is a teleport formation in the inner area that leads to the Thunder spiritual pool. Before long, Han Jue arrived at the Thunder spiritual pool and once again was shocked by the grandeur of the Jade Pure sect. He had originally thought that the Thunder spiritual pool was just a small pond, but now he realized he had underestimated it. At this moment, he found that the vast Thunder spiritual pool had only one person cultivating, who seemed lost in thought. Suddenly, a tree trunk with a human face appeared behind Han Jue. Instantly, a miserable scream echoed throughout the entire Thunder spiritual pool. Soon, Han Jue realized that this was a Yogwai tree. Once again, he marveled at how the Jade Pure sect was truly willing to spare no expense. You should know that the Yogwai tree is known as a cultivate catalyst. Although it looks a bit eerie, the cultivation efficiency around it will surely double. He has really come to the right place this time. Immediately, he excitedly shouted that he must cultivate to the 9th layer within a year. At this moment, another person cultivating in the Thunder spiritual pool heard his words. He couldn't help but be speechless. Is he speaking human language? Or is he being too arrogant? However, a year later, he was strongly slapped in the face. Han Jue actually cultivated Lei's spiritual Qi from 0 to 9 layer within a year. At this point, Han Jue has finally perfected the 6 Qi refining great perfection, with purple lightning constantly swirling around his body. So, he decided to directly proceed to foundation establishment. The young man with blue hair in the field suddenly looked up at the sky, only to see a large gathering of purple lightning in the sky. The oppressive power of this lightning tribulation shocked him immensely. At this moment, the Yogwai tree appeared behind the young man. He looked utterly befuddled. You should know that if the power of the lightning tribulation in this Thunder spiritual pool is activated, it will at least double. He urged the youth to get out quickly to avoid being affected. In their eyes, Han Jue is undoubtedly doomed this time. And at this moment, the lightning tribulation finally descends, and it transforms into countless purple lightning bolts striking towards Han Jue. Others prepare themselves in various ways before facing their tribulation. However, Han Jue directly faced the tribulation in the Thunder spiritual pool, doubling the power of the lightning tribulation. What's even more terrifying is that he directly absorbed the heavenly tribulation, turning it into the power for his foundation establishment. It was 2 years later when Han Jue finished absorbing the power of the heavenly tribulation. At this point, his stage had already reached the foundation establishment stage 3 layer, and his lifespan was close to 200 years. It's worth noting that Han Jue's immortal cultivation is precisely because he fears death. Just as he was secretly delighted, the system popped up 2 options again. Han Jue was speechless once again after seeing the first option. How much does my Shifu really love secluded cultivation? At this moment, the blue-haired young man cultivating by the Thunder spiritual pool came up behind Han Jue at Heaven Thunder Peak. May I ask for your name, sir from Imo no Revenge? Han Jue also politely introduced himself. When Imo no Revenge of Jade Serenity Peak found out that Han Jue was actually from Heaven Thunder Peak, he immediately dug up the corner of the wall, wanting him to come to cultivate at his own peak. Han Jue politely refused without hesitation. But at this moment, the system suddenly popped up a prompt. Han Jue glanced at it. He was suddenly taken aback and turned pale. He was speechless when he saw the system suddenly popping up rows of Xing Red Vortex statuses. This lady is really pitiful. The most outrageous thing is that Xing Red Vortex's affection for him has actually increased to 4 stars. Is this woman crazy? Meanwhile, on the other side, Xing Red Vortex is constantly evading pursuit. At this moment, she heaved a long sigh and finally bid farewell. The demon cult was just as she was confused about where to go next. At this moment, she suddenly remembered that when Han Jue was about to silence her with a brick, he inadvertently blocked most of Old Iron's major attacks. This led Xing Red Vortex to mistakenly believe that Han Jue was protecting her. This was the first time in her life that someone had stood up for her. In Xing Red Vortex's heart, Han Jue was now firmly regarded as her husband. When Han Jue returned to the cultivation dwelling, he was about to start cultivating. At this time, he heard the sound of bells. When Han Jue arrived outside the cultivation dwelling, he happened to run into Chang Lunar. It was only then that he realized this was the signal for the master to gather all the disciples. The two of them immediately flew towards the main hall on their flying swords. When Han Jue arrived inside the main hall, here, a large number of disciples had already gathered. The appearance of Han Jue also caused a stir among many disciples. At this time, Dawn Star Fairy saw that everyone had arrived and directly spoke. Under the command of the sect leader, in the upcoming 18 Peaks competition, the last 3 peaks will send disciples to participate in the confrontation against Azure Abyss Demon Cult. Han Jue was left speechless after hearing this. Let the last 3 peaks go. Isn't this just sending people to their deaths? At this moment, senior disciple Lu Sanqin said, though our Jade Serenity Peak has always kept a low profile, we are still willing to contribute to this sect. Recently, the sect has launched an outstanding disciple training program to concentrate on nurturing the most outstanding disciples from each peak as the cornerstone of the sect's next generation. When it comes to candidate selection, Lu Sanqin proudly pushed his glasses up, thinking this program was tailor-made for him. However, to his surprise, Dawn Star Fairy chose Han Jue instead. After hearing this, both Lu Sanqin and Han Jue were shocked and sweating profusely. Han Jue quickly refused, saying he is grateful for Shifu's appreciation, but he is determined to stay on Jade Serenity Peak for secluded cultivation. He would rather give the opportunity to his senior brothers and sisters. Shifu is doubting whether he is a spy for the demon sect. In any case, it's best to refuse. When he saw Han Jue decisively dismiss Dawn Star Fairy without much explanation, he decided to let the senior disciple Lu Sanqin participate instead. Afterwards, Lu Sanqin specially came to thank Han Jue, who smiled and wished the senior brother smooth sailing in advance. Chang Lunar quickly rushed over at this time, expressing that he would bring his junior brother along. The senior brother immediately understood Chang Lunar's meaning. The senior brother gave Han Jue a meaningful smile. At this moment, Chang Lunar expressed the intention to take Han Jue to do sect tasks. Han Jue immediately expressed, "Can we not go for this sect task? Doing sect tasks can earn a lot of cultivation resources. Senior sister, there is no need for it. I still have enough spiritual stone resources." Chang Lunar then quickly added that the task's contribution can even exchange for Dan pills. However, Han Jue said that he is afraid of death and directly rejected Chang Lunar. Chang Lunar was outraged. How can we, cultivators, be afraid of death? If you're not afraid of death, then why cultivate immortality? This statement left Chang Lunar speechless and unable to offer a rebuttal. Dawn Star Fairy on this side was also speechless for a moment upon hearing Han Jue's astonishing statement. And so, another 10 years passed, and Han Jue once again arrived at the Thunder Spiritual Pool. Little did Han Jue know that as soon as he entered, trouble began to brew with the Yogwai tree. This man is really too careless. Others cultivate immortality to become more powerful, while he cultivates immortality purely because he is afraid of death and wants to live a few more years. He refuses to do any tasks or take any opportunities related to the sect if there is even a little bit of danger involved. Every day, he is focused on cultivating. Speaking of Han Jue, he once again arrived at Thunder's spiritual pool. Yogwai Tree approached Han Jue. Earlier, I thought you were a genius. So many years have passed. Why are you still at the Foundation Establishment 3rd layer? Han Jue just shrugged indifferently. He is currently only displaying his Thunder spiritual root. The other 5 elemental spiritual roots have long been cultivated to the Foundation Establishment 5th layer. At this time, Mo no Revenge also walked over, with a girl following behind him. Mo no Revenge introduced this as his younger sister, Mo Bamboo, to Han Jue. When Mo Bamboo saw Han Jue, she immediately asked, "Why are you still at the Foundation Establishment 3 layer? Our brother said you might have already reached Foundation Establishment 6th layer." Han Jue just smiled and sat down with his legs crossed, ready to start cultivating. At the same time, he reminded them to stay a bit away if they were going to cultivate together. Only to see the surrounding spiritual chi being absorbed by Han Jue completely. Mo no Revenge was shocked to see that the speed of absorbing spiritual chi was even more terrifying than his own, and he should know that he was at the 9th layer of Foundation Establishment. At that moment, he guessed that Han Jue must have a way to suppress cultivation levels, and his true cultivation level was definitely not lower than his own. Unconsciously, Han Jue had cultivated here for 8 years, and he eventually cultivated his Thunder spiritual root to the 9th layer of perfection. The Yogwai Tree saw Han Jue and was about to leave. It spoke up and said, "I have an opportunity here that can provide you with a lot of cultivation resources. Would you like to participate?" Opportunity always comes with risks. Upon hearing about the risks, Han Jue didn't even hesitate and turned around to leave. Just as Han Jue finished receiving his salary for these past few years, Mo Bamboo suddenly approached Han Jue and said that he needed Han Jue's help with something. This is a great opportunity. Upon hearing about the opportunity, Han Jue couldn't contain his excitement. He rejected without even thinking about it. He said he still needs to go back to cultivate. Then he disappeared in front of Mo Bamboo. At this moment, Han Jue accidentally overheard a passerby mentioning the inner grand competition. Han Jue was suddenly struck as if by a thunderbolt, realizing that he had focused too much on cultivating and had forgotten about this important event. Now, Master is probably going to skin me alive. Han Jue immediately found Dawnstar Fairy and proactively admitted his mistake to her. Fortunately, Dawnstar Fairy did not blame him. However, upon seeing Han Jue's cultivation level at Foundation Establishment 3rd layer, she couldn't help but look puzzled. Han Jue explained that he is actually at Foundation Establishment 9th layer. He had been concealing his cultivation level to remain low-key. This series of actions immediately aroused a lot of goodwill from Dawnstar Fairy. At this point, the system also prompted Han Jue that the task to gain recognition from Dawnstar Fairy was completed, and he received the Agility Manual's 7-fold Phantom Step. Only then did Han Jue realize that Shifu had taken in a new disciple. He immediately turned his head to look, only to find that this person was actually Old Iron, who happened to look back at Han Jue at the same time. The two of them just looked at each other like that. At the same time, the two of them loudly exclaimed each other's names. Chan Lunar looked curious. "So you two know each other?" Dawnstar Fairy said to Han Jue at this time. "This is the newly accepted disciple of Jade Serenity Peak. You can call him Junior Brother Iron." Little did they know, the expressions on the faces of the two at this time were as exciting as they could be. At this time, Dawnstar Fairy also brought up the main topic. "Han Jue, since you are so fond of cultivation, I will assign you a task. Go to guard the myriad demons realm of the Jade Pure sect." After hearing this, Han Jue broke out in a cold sweat. The myriad demons realm sounds awesome, but also feels very dangerous. Chan Lunar, who knows about it, got excited and said that's where the Jade Pure sect raises Yogwai pets. She also wants to go there with Han Jue. Dawnstar Fairy refused Chan Lunar directly, mentioning that the area is very dangerous, with Yogwai pets going berserk frequently and instances of disciples being brutally killed. Han Jue, who was already worried, broke out in a cold sweat upon hearing this. Given Dawnstar Fairy's appearance, he didn't even have the chance to refuse. But thinking about it, this should be similar to a zoo's security guard. You can just slack off when the time comes. He immediately respectfully said he would comply with the arrangement. Later, he went back to pack his things and left to see the two people leaving. Dawnstar Fairy suddenly said to Old Iron, "I don't want to dwell on your past with Han Jue. From now on, you are senior and junior brothers. Building a good relationship with him will only benefit you. As long as you are not mortal enemies, resolve your conflicts. From what I know of him, he won't scheme against you. In the future, Han Jue will be the inheritor disciple of Jade Serenity Peak. They say that if you live only to the end, you will have nothing. However, the young man before us is becoming stronger and stronger despite enduring hardships. He deeply understands a principle. It is said that Han Jue has been in the myriad demons realm for a year and a half. Every day, besides cultivating, all he does is cultivate. That day, he was bored and just scrolling through the system's social feed. He saw Imo Bamboo being attacked and couldn't help but sigh that fate was indeed not a good thing. Then he stretched lazily and went out to inspect. Every once in a while, he had to go out and inspect to prevent Yogwai beasts from rioting and causing problems. When he walked out of the house, he found a cute little cat perched on a tree branch. It seemed harmless, so he turned around and walked away. Little did he know, that little cat actually turned into a huge Yogwai beast and suddenly launched a sneak attack towards Han Jue. In an instant, those sharp claws tore Han Jue apart. But in the next moment, Han Jue actually turned into a wisp of smoke and disappeared. And the real Han Jue had already arrived on the rooftop by this time. He had just unleashed the sevenfold phantom step technique. This technique can produce an afterimage at each level. When perfected at the 7-layer stage, it can produce 7 distinct afterimages. Only seeing Han Jue split into 7 afterimages, charging towards the Yogwai beast. He surrounded the Yogwai beast from all directions. All figures simultaneously unleashed the Finger God Sword. Numerous sword chi shot towards the Yogwai beast, although only the true body can inflict damage. But the Yogwai beast is unable to distinguish which one is real and which one is fake. It was severely injured in an instant by Han Jue. The Yogwai beast ran away immediately after being injured. Han Jue did not catch up. He noticed that the recent Yogwai beast riots were getting more obvious. He immediately decided to report this situation to the senior members of the sect. After hearing about the matter, the senior members promptly called for a meeting. They all speculated that there must be a traitor among the senior members of the sect. At this time, the sect leader went missing. They had no choice but to send more manpower, and were determined to investigate this matter thoroughly. 2 years later, on this day, Han Jue was sitting inside the restricting formation set up in the Myriad Demons realm. He found that this formation was a treasure, as even cultivators at the Golden Core stage couldn't enter. Moreover, the soundproofing effect was excellent, making it perfect for cultivation and rest. Just as he was feeling pleased with himself, a voice suddenly came from behind him. "Youngster, are you treating the Myriad Demons realm as a place for cultivation?" Han Jue casually responded. But the next second, he suddenly realized. He turned around in shock and found a big fat man standing behind him. This person was not affected by the prohibition? Then his strength must be above the Golden Core level. Just listen to the fat man saying that he himself is also a disciple of the Jade Pure sect, who came to guard the Myriad Demons realm. He saw Han Jue looking like he was facing a great enemy. The fat man reassured him, and asked whether Han Jue came in on his own initiative, or was sent by his master. "I was sent here by my master, Dawnstar Fairy." "Did your Shifu give you any instructions for the task when you heard that fatty approaching?" "Even if there were, how could I tell you?" Who would have thought that the fat man would say, "You've already caused a big trouble. I'll help you solve it for the sake of your Shifu." At this moment, Han Jue was surprised to see the relationship list that popped up on the system. It turns out that this person is actually Li Qingzi, the sect leader of Jade Pure Sect, who also admires Dawnstar Fairy. At this moment, Li Qingzi is explaining to Han Jue that the Yaoguai beasts here are showing signs of rebellion. And these Yaoguai beasts are all subordinates of the Yaoguai king, Tiger Heart White Long. You should know that Tiger Heart White Long always seeks revenge for the smallest grievance. This time it has commanded so many Yaoguai beasts to lurk here, preparing to revolt. What did you do before to provoke Tiger Heart White Long? However, at this moment, Han Jue was not interested in listening to what he had to say. His mind was full of images of Li Qingzi and Dawnstar Fairy together. He is extremely angry in his heart. This fat man is not worthy of a Shifu. Under Li Qingzi's persistent questioning, Han Jue finally revealed the details of the previous incident. After listening to the course of events, Li Qingzi believed that Tiger King must have been set up and exhausted, otherwise Han Jue would have been dead by now. At the same time, he also inquired about what kind of body technique Han Jue used, as it was even faster than Tiger Heart White Long. Han Jue casually said that he picked it up by the roadside, which infuriated Li Qingzi. He immediately decided to thoroughly address the Yaoguai beast uprising, which must be resolved at its source. Knowing that Han Jue is highly skilled in body techniques, Li Qingzi proposed to send him to subdue the Yaoguai king. Han Jue turned and left without hesitation, but Li Qingzi hurriedly called out to stop him. He expressed that as long as Tiger Heart White Long surrenders, he will pass on the supreme cultivation technique, the Jade Pure Mantra of the Jade Pure Sect. At this moment, the system popped up with a choice. When he saw that surrendering Yaoguai King would earn him Yaoguai King's hatred and the attention of the Azure Abyss demon cult, Han Jue said, "Sorry for interrupting," then turned around and left. Li Qingzi was so angry that she stomped her feet there. Unfortunately, he could only sigh deeply in the end, and I ended up shouldering everything alone. You see, am I right? In the eyes of others, he is a cowardly person who values life and fears death. He will stay far away at the slightest hint of danger. However, he is only at the Foundation Establishment cultivation level. Easily killed 7 Golden Core Demon Lord. Speaking of the Yaoguai Beast Rebellion, Chan Lunar suddenly arrived in this myriad demon's realm along with the 7 senior brothers of Jade Serenity Peak. Ming River, who turned out to be Dawnstar Fairy, sent 2 people to assist Han Jue. Afterwards, Ming River went alone to explore the surroundings. At this time, Chan Lunar informed Han Jue that the demon cult disciple may have infiltrated the myriad demon's realm. Shifu reminded us to be careful. Upon hearing this, Han Jue immediately proposed leaving the myriad demon's realm. Chan Lunar was about to refuse. The 2 of them saw Ming River, covered in injuries, running back. He had seen a group of Yaoguai beasts trapped in a formation on the cliff edge several miles away. Just as he was about to come back, he encountered a Golden Core Yaoguai Lord, Han Jue, and quickly took out a Dan pill to heal Ming River's injuries. At the same time, he thought to himself, indeed one cannot act recklessly when away from home. The fate of senior brother serves as proof. They were horrified to find a group of Yaoguai beasts charging towards them, and Han Jue immediately wanted to run away. But Chan Lunar said, "We must not leave our post without authorization." But Han Jue has no sense of martial virtue. "You stay here and await death. I will sing of your brave deeds to Master." At this time, the Ming River no longer persists. As a result, shortly after a few people walked out of the house, the attic was broken through by an army of Yaoguai beasts. Several people saw the Yaoguai beasts showing no sign of stopping and continuing to charge forward. They were convinced that it must be the demon cult up to something. Suddenly, Han Jue sensed a strong Yaoguai energy. I saw a huge eagle with its mouth wide open, lunging towards the 3 people. Fortunately, Han Jue reacted in time. He hugged Chan Lunar and dodged. This great eagle is the Golden Core Yaoguai Lord that just attacked Ming River. And at this moment, Ming River was alone, so Chan Lunar suddenly reminded Han Jue in alarm. Above them, there were actually 7 golden core Yogwai lords circling around. Seeing the Yogwai lord charging towards them, Chan Lunar despaired and closed his eyes, thinking that they were done for this time. But Han Jue's lips curled slightly upwards. I saw 3 sword shadows of different colors appear around Han Jue. This is the peerless sword technique that Han Jue previously refused to teach Li Qingzi. 3 pure phantom sword. Han Jue lightly spat out a slash. The 7 golden core Yogwai lords were instantly turned into debris. Chan Lunar was completely stunned. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she wouldn't believe it even if she was beaten to death. At this time, I am recalling the expression in Han Jue's eyes at that moment. She couldn't help but blush, with a deer jumping in her heart. But then she saw Han Jue had already packed up the body of the Yogwai beast. She was speechless once again. When the two arrived at the myriad demons' realm's teleport formation, Ming River saw the 2 people and was about to excitedly pounce on them. He ended up being kicked squarely in the face by Chan Lunar. She was so angry that she directly gave him a pounding. As soon as several people came out, Han Jue took the corpse of the Yogwai beast to exchange for spiritual stone. He looked at the large bundle of spiritual stone that he exchanged for. Han Jue was so excited that he wanted to go back and brush the wilderness again. Chan Lunar noticed Han Jue's thoughts and reminded him that the Yogwai beasts in the myriad demons realm are not allowed to be hunted casually. This time is also a special situation. She was beating Ming River while speaking. Han Jue heard this and could only give up. It's better for him to stay peacefully in seclusion and meditate. 3 of them immediately went to visit Dawnstar Fairy. They told her about what happened in the myriad demons realm. Dawnstar Fairy didn't say much after hearing it. She let Chan Lunar and the others leave first and stayed alone with Han Jue. At this moment, Han Jue's heart was in a state of panic. Could it be that she was going to settle things alone? Dawnstar Fairy suddenly asked, Han Jue, what is cultivation for? Disciple cultivates only for immortality. Dawnstar Fairy fell silent for a moment and then said, You've been in seclusion, hard cultivating all this time without any opportunity. Immortality is impossible. But the disciple wants to enhance their cultivation level first, and then seek opportunities when they have enough strength. In reality, deep down, they are thinking, I am exceptionally gifted and have unparalleled luck. What do I need with opportunities? Dawnstar Fairy was obviously quite annoyed by this person. She pressed on her own temple and said, I arranged an opportunity for you. If you had achieved success in the myriad demons realm and become a core disciple, it would have been just around the corner. Unfortunately, you gave up. I can't even see through the grade of the cultivation technique you cultivate. I can't help you with your cultivation technique. Do you want to have your own innate spiritual chi cultivation dwelling? Inside, there are not only thunder spiritual chi, but also other attribute spiritual chi. Han Jue excitedly asked, Where? It's near the Jade Pure sect, but one has to place in the top 3 in the inner disciple competition to obtain it. As soon as Han Jue heard that it involved competition, he started to waver. Dawnstar Fairy was so angry with his apprehensive appearance that she wanted to punch him. At this time, Han Jue asked again, Are there participants in the competition with golden core or higher cultivation levels? Dawnstar Fairy responded impatiently, Do you think reaching golden core is as easy as picking cabbage? Those who reach golden core are mostly core disciples, elders, stewards, and the like. As soon as he heard that only those above golden core could participate, he immediately changed his attitude. I accept this innate cultivation dwelling with a smile. He was originally a top-tier great vehicle cultivator in the immortal cultivation world. Now he is kneeling respectfully in front of this man. He only asks him to teach him how to flirt. It is said that there are still 8 years before the assessment of inner. Han Jue plans to cultivate well during this time. Immediately, he arrived at the wind spiritual pool, striving to cultivate all 6 types of spiritual roots to the foundation establishment 9 layer before the assessment. At that moment, he suddenly noticed a group of people not far away. It turned out that a group of people was bullying someone. He thought to himself that it's better to focus on cultivating peacefully. But at this time, the system suddenly prompted a message. Detected innate chi practitioner Han Jue was shocked when he saw his background. The innate chi practitioner is the one who was bullied. He is a great vehicle cultivator reincarnated, and deep in his soul is a spiritual treasure which has been damaged, requiring the absorption of spiritual chi to repair it. This has resulted in Zhou Fan's cultivation progressing at an extremely slow speed, but the spiritual treasure will soon be successfully restored. Han Jue suddenly looked confused. Great vehicle stage cultivators are indeed powerful. In a novel, they would usually be the protagonist. He is considering whether to help him. If he helps, he might rise to great success in the future. But he also thought about how in novels, there are many supporting characters who are killed during the protagonist's growth. Immediately, he dismissed the idea of helping him. He decided that cultivating and becoming stronger himself is the way to go. Time flies, and 8 years have passed. Besides his water and earth spiritual roots, he has reached the foundation establishment 9 layer in all other 8 layers. He had just emerged from the spiritual pool when he saw Zhou Fan, who was actually confessing to a girl. As expected, he received the nice guy card without any surprise. Han Jue was about to walk over, but was stopped by Zhou Fan. Because Mo no Revenge always talked about Han Jue with him, he recognized him at a glance. Except for Han Jue, when he wanted to challenge himself to a duel. Zhou Fan suddenly knelt down on the ground with a thud. I heard that you are very popular with girls. I would like to ask how should I pursue the one I like. Han Jue suddenly looked completely confused. Then Han Jue, looking radiant, said, When have I ever gotten close to a woman? Women are nothing. If one attains the great Tao, the world will be at peace. Whatever you desire, you will naturally obtain. Zhou Fan, looking at the almost divine Han Jue, felt a slight ripple in his heart. When Han Jue returned to Jade Serenity Peak and heard the bell calling all disciples once again. On the way to the main hall, he met the senior brother. Unbeknownst to him, the senior brother suddenly asked Han Jue if he knew Xing Red Vortex. Han Jue was suddenly shocked. Only to hear big senior brother continue, these years he followed sect leader to lurk in myriad demons' realm and engage in open and secret struggles with demon cult. There has always been a traitor from demon cult providing intelligence. It was this intelligence that led sect leader to fake leaving Jade Pure Sect and set up an ambush in myriad demons' realm. And this traitor from demon cult is none other than Xing Red Vortex. She was forced to take poison at a young age and threatened to act as a spy for Jade Pure Sect. All this time, she has harbored hatred towards demon cult. She even tried to find an antidote in the outer area before. Later, sect leader saved Xing Red Vortex and allowed her to become an inner disciple against all rules. Now she follows sect leader's junior sister, Silent True Immortal, to cultivate. She is also investigating a servant named Han Jue, who is a Dan alchemist. Coincidentally, we also have a disciple junior brother named Han Jue at Jade Serenity Peak. Quite a coincidence, isn't it? Han Jue is embarrassed. He doesn't know how to respond. He can only reluctantly admit that the past, though unpleasant, is undeniable. Senior brother, who unexpectedly rejoiced, lived in the Han Jue building. Rest assured, senior brother understands. Just senior brother didn't expect your talent to be so outstanding. Han Jue finally breathed a sigh of relief. At this moment, he opened the panel of Xing Red Vortex. He saw that she had so much affection for him, and thought about how he had deceived her. He couldn't help but feel a sense of guilt. Unfortunately, he could only silently wish her a future free from suffering. When everyone arrives at the Grand Hall, Dawnstar Fairy announces that the inner disciple assessment is starting. Each peak must send at least 10 people. Who is willing to participate this time? Suddenly, everyone in the audience is clamoring to sign up. Seeing almost everyone signing up, Han Jue thought to join in to show his support as well. As a result, Dawnstar Fairy was the first one selected by Han Jue. Everyone looked at him with curiosity. Han Jue was so anxious that he kept saying that what happened just now didn't count, but Dawnstar Fairy didn't even look at him and continued to select other competing disciples. After the personnel selection was completed, Dawnstar Fairy once again stayed alone with Han Jue. She had learned about Han Jue's background, so she no longer harbored any suspicions towards Han Jue. At the same time, he appointed Han Jue as the Jade Serenity Peak Inheritor disciple. Han Jue was suddenly shocked. But the system, recognizing Han Jue as an Inheritor disciple, specially issued a reward at this moment. Long Live Master. He clearly has the strength to kill opponents in seconds. Yet he is being beaten by the opponent and runs away holding his head. Then he took advantage of everyone's inattention to kill the opponent with one blow. And he did this just to not attract attention from others. Speaking of Han Jue returning to Cultivation Dwelling, he started to accept the inheritance of the 9-long exorcism seal. This third spell is similar to palm arts, where different attributes of spiritual power can produce different effects. This undoubtedly adds another ace up Han Jue's sleeve. But soon he began to worry about the excessive lethality of these two moves. At this moment, Chang Lunar arrived at the Han Jue Cultivation Dwelling. She directly took him to the posting place for the rankings. Tomorrow they will be arranged to compete one-on-one at each peak until the top 10 are determined, and then they will compete in the inner city. Additionally, all disciples of the sect can watch. Han Jue breathed a sigh of relief upon learning that there won't be many people watching the matches before the top 10 are determined. He didn't want to attract attention to himself. Han Jue soon discovered that his name was also on the list. Tomorrow, he will go to Heavenly Execution Peak to compete. Just as Han Jue was preparing to leave, Xing Red Vortex suddenly appeared behind Han Jue. She shouted happily, "Husband!" Han Jue quickly took a step back and said, "Miss, you can't just shout out like that." Xing Red Vortex chuckled and covered their mouth. "Didn't we agree on this?" He said it was just a show for the occasion. If I had refused at that time, I was afraid you would kill me. Xing Red Vortex smiled. She took out a bottle of Dan pill that I don't really like to use. Han Jue could not refuse Xing Red Vortex, and took the Dan pill. "Take it! You can get this Dan pill regularly. My aptitude is average, but I will do my best to help you with anything your husband needs." She finished speaking, then rode away on her sword. Han Jue stood there holding the Dan pill, looking dazed for a long time. In a dark hall, Xing Red Vortex and Silent True Immortal sat facing each other. "You gave the Jade Pure Dan to that kid. Do not regret, disciple is already deeply entangled in the relationship." On the day of the competition, when Han Jue arrived at the competition venue, he was stunned. I did not expect that there would be so many visitors. How will he act with so many people? At this time, the system prompt gave Han Jue two choices. When he saw the second choice unexpectedly rewarded a spiritual treasure, Han Jue immediately chose it joyfully. At the same time, he secretly sighed that the system really understood him well, actually allowing him to act low-key. He was confident that if he continued like this, he could become invincible in the world. The competition started soon, and the Mo No Revenge siblings also came to watch Han Jue's match. However, on the arena, Han Jue was struggling to dodge the opponent's attacks. While the opponent, a disciple from Heavenly Execution Peak, became more excited as the battle continued. At this point, the audience on the field all felt that this duel was too boring. Everyone started leaving to go watch elsewhere. Only Mo No Revenge knows that this guy is faking it. At this time, Han Jue also noticed that there were not many people left in the audience seats, and the judges were dozing off. Just then, Han Jue smirked and walked up behind his opponent. The next second, his opponent flew out, and the huge impact woke up the judges as well. The judges then realized that the battle had already ended. The winner is Han Jue. Later, Han Jue used the same method. The field was almost empty before he made a move to defeat his opponent in just one move. And then, he successfully entered the top 10. On that day, Han Jue was cultivating. Suddenly, he sensed that something was amiss. The leaves were not moving, yet he heard the sound of wind. Suddenly, wisps of black gas appeared out of thin air and flew towards Han Jue. Han Jue didn't say a word and raised his hand to unleash a 9-long exorcism seal. He saw the black mist trying to escape. Han Jue treats the 9-long exorcism seal as if it doesn't cost a thing. It just chased after that black shadow and started beating it up. Suddenly, a wail came from the black shadow. "I am the Supreme Elder of the Jade Pure Sect. How can someone like you exist in the Jade Pure Sect? You dare to show such disrespect to your seniors." Han Jue was stunned in an instant. The old man continued angrily. "I was just passing by. Why are you all using such big moves to attack me?" Han Jue was speechless. "Your actions are unpredictable." "Humph, my cultivate divine techniques have always been like this. Do you understand how the primordial spirit escapes?" However, the old man was terrified for a moment. What kind of spell was that just now? It almost caused my primordial spirit to be extinguished. Is it common for inner disciples to act like this now? Han Jue was about to report this to Master, which frightened the old man into stopping him hastily. He also claimed to be the master of both Dawnstar Fairy and sect leader, then smirked and said, "Young man, I see potential in you. Would you like to inherit my mantle?" Cultivation technique Heavenly Dao body. Only me and the sect leader of the Jade Pure Sect know the entire technique. This is the top-level cultivation technique. After cultivating to perfection, the physical body becomes indestructible. Even someone who is a stage higher would find it difficult to break through its defense. But if you want to cultivate this skill, Han Jue saw the secret book of the old man. He refused without even thinking about it. He nearly killed the old man just now. How could he suddenly be so kind-hearted? Afterwards, Han Jue told Dawnstar Fairy about this incident. Dawnstar Fairy was speechless. This old man just can't stay put. Is the Heavenly Dao body powerful? The senior wants to teach me. Little did Dawnstar Fairy know. She blushed deeply upon hearing about it. It is very powerful, considered the strongest cultivation technique of the Jade Pure Sect. However, before cultivating it, one must sever their roots. What are roots? It refers to a man's. Han Jue was rendered speechless in an instant. Then isn't the sect leader and the Supreme Elder? Dawnstar Fairy cleared her throat gently. This matter must not be disclosed. Han Jue could not calm down for a long time even as he left. They are really ruthless people. It was soon the day of the top 10 assessment of the inner sect. Looking at the surging crowd, Han Jue secretly thought to himself that it wouldn't be easy to perform well this time. Should I just go all out? Directly crush them all? At this time, Chang Lunar also walked over. He brought a whole cheerleading team to cheer for Han Jue. At this moment, Han Jue suddenly felt a gaze. It was Zhou Fan who was staring at him intently. His eyes were filled with a strong sense of fighting spirit. At this time, Mo Bamboo also arrived by Han Jue's side to cheer for Han Jue. Chang Lunar immediately looked alertly at Mo Bamboo. A strong smell of gunpowder instantly erupted between the two women. To their surprise, Xing Red Vortex also walked over and sweetly called out, "Husband!" Suddenly, the scene was like a collision between Mars and Earth, with thick smoke filling the air between the three women. Han Jue, seeing the situation, hurriedly slipped away. Finally, the assessment officially begins, with the first match being Han Jue against Zhou Fan. Zhou Fan angrily asked, "Han Jue, didn't you say that you have never been close to a woman?" Han Jue helplessly replied, "This has nothing to do with me. I am also very desperate." At this moment, Zhou Fan raised his left hand, and a small black bell emerged from the palm, eerie and mysterious. Brother Han, you must give it your all this time. At the same time, he confidently let Han Jue make the first move. Han Jue, seeing Zhou Fan so confident, also began to take it seriously. Suddenly, 3 sword chi emerged around him. Zhou Fan, upon seeing this, had a flash of red light in his eyes. The spiritual energy surrounding Zhou Fan instantly enveloped him. It was the skill, absolute defense Han Jue, endowed by his spiritual treasure. Without further ado, the sword energy around him immediately flew towards Zhou Fan like lightning. And then, everyone was left stunned and speechless. Zhou Fan's proud skill was shattered by Han Jue's strike. He was sent flying like a kite with a broken string, leaving everyone stunned. Is this the end? Soon, the top 5 have all been determined. Next, the 5 will draw lots, and those who draw the red lots will receive a bye, directly advancing to the top 3. Han Jue randomly drew 1. He unexpectedly drew a bye. Gotta say, his extraordinary luck is no joke. At this moment, Han Jue recalled that as long as he reached the top 3, he could choose the innate cultivation dwelling, and now he was already in the top 3. Wouldn't that mean that he could? After an intense battle, the top 3 have finally been selected. Just as the Elder was about to announce the rules of the final match, Han Jue directly admits defeat. Elder gave Han Jue a deep look, and then announced that Han Jue had won 3rd place. At this time, Han Jue also received a system reward, the Golden Cicada Mystic Divine Robe, a 7th-grade spiritual treasure that can automatically defend against enemy attacks, withstanding a maximum of 1 strike from a divine transformation cultivator. Han Jue was immediately excited, drooling with excitement. After the assessment ended, Dao Thunder Elder brought the top 3 to the main peak hall. At this time, Silent True Immortal appeared in front of the group. The 3 innate cultivation dwellings awarded as prizes will be selected by the first-place winner. Just looking at her right hand extending out, suddenly 3 light balls flew out. The 3 innate cultivation dwellings each landed on the mountains on the outskirts of the Jade Pure 18 Peaks. These light balls from the cultivation dwellings will guide you on your way. After the first 2 selections, there was still 1 white light ball left. This cultivation dwelling has a mixed attribute of spiritual chi, but the richness of spiritual chi is equivalent to a spiritual pool. Han Jue saw this, and couldn't help but feel delighted, as this is the most suitable place for practicing my 6 spiritual roots. Soon, Han Jue followed the light ball, and arrived at his new cultivation dwelling. Han Jue couldn't wait to take out the Golden Cicada Mystic Divine Robe. He put it on right away. After wearing it, he looked just like the Emperor's new clothes, completely invisible to others. But Han Jue felt a sense of security he had never experienced before. Half a month passed, and on this day, Zhou Fan and Mo No Revenge arrived outside Han Jue's cultivation dwelling. Zhou Fan couldn't help but wonder, is this really Han Jue's cultivation dwelling? Mo No Revenge pointed to a few large characters outside the cave. At first glance, these characters are undoubtedly Han Jue cultivation dwelling. When Han Jue heard the voice of Mo No Revenge inside the cave, he immediately went to the entrance of the cave, puzzled by how they arrived. Mo No Revenge stated that they wanted to invite Han Jue to help take down a branch of the Azure Abyss demon cult. Han Jue, however, rejected without hesitation. He said he needed to prepare for a breakthrough in seclusion. Mo No Revenge immediately stated that he would prioritize giving him the Tribulation Crossing Dan as long as he got it. Han Jue suddenly stopped in his tracks. Mo No Revenge thought he had touched him. Little did he know, Han Jue was actually looking at the choices given by the system. Seeing this option, Han Jue was speechless. Was there really a need to choose? He was definitely not going. He would be able to obtain an artifact. 2 years later, Han Jue finally broke through to the Golden Core realm with his perfected 6 spiritual powers.